morning, everyone. Shall I refer to you all as excellencies? Ladies and ladies, what a pleasure to see you all around the room. What an affirmation. I feel affirmed and I feel encouraged just by seeing all of you around the room this morning. Let's actually not give much time to that propaganda that women are their worst enemies. I'm sure it was not crafted by a female. It is supposed to sow a seed of self-doubt that everything you do, you think others will not support you. There will be little fights, little distractions. But my journey has taught me that actually majority of women will support one another. And I'll tell you that in my first campaign, I used to see women in the market shaking their dresses, that I want a dress like mine. What they mean, they are referring to me as the dress. You see, they want somebody who is like them. So we do actually support and affirm each other. And the chamas started with females, not with the men. Women supporting each other, even up to this day, in the villages, the majority of groups are women's groups. So that is a show of support for one another. The day we will employ power of networks, anybody wanting a seat anywhere will have to bargain with women, not with anybody else. So I just want to say we begin by affirming ourselves that we are that good. We do support one another in more than one way. But we have been victims of propaganda, that we don't support one another. Let's refuse to listen to it. We all grow in patriarchy because our country, our world, is mainly a male world. Where from when you are little, all you hear is negatives about women and positives about men. It's a lifelong thing that we have to unlearn. And I find even now, if my antennas are not out, you will sleep. So let's invite ourselves to the unlearning journey, and that will help us as mothers nurture the next generation differently. You know? Because if we unlearn, then the next generation will not be as afflicted by patriarchy as we are. So coming together is one way of beginning that journey. And I want to say my journey is your journey, is our journey. Because nobody makes it, whether in business, whether socially, whether politically, without others. So in one way or the other, I'm a product of all of you and of the society. And even this opportunity is your, everybody's opportunity. It's a culmination of what we've been doing. And I remember my late paternal grandmother, a warrior in her own right, a graduate of the social school. Because we actually do think that women's leadership and resistance begins with formal education. Stories of old, of Wangua Makeri, which has been made negative, but if you look at it, you will see how strong she was. How active and engaged as a citizen she was. But it will be told in negative terms. So I want to acknowledge that we are not the generation that began this movement. Our foremothers, our grandmothers, women of all ages, there is something you will learn about what women did globally. It's just that our stories are her story is never told. We read history. We will now start writing her story. So I want to begin by just being happy that we are here together doing this. And I want to acknowledge it's all about leadership. If Clinton is said to have said it's the economy is stupid, I will say in Kenya it's about leadership. And I think that is what we are looking for. Good leadership. You are here as CEOs, you are here as women in business, you can't succeed if there isn't uongozi bora, good leadership. Yeah, so what we must be focused on is what type of leadership will secure our country, will secure the business environment. I want to add to you the definition of politics. It's the art of living. Politics will determine your social, your political, your economic environment. The business environment can be fouled or improved by politics. And I think if you look at the last 20 years, you know that. If you look beyond, you even realize that much more. So we have to get involved. We don't all have to run. But you hold a vote, you determine what type of leadership. What if all of us started with the wards we lived in, and we agreed, we conspired to determine the leadership of our ward? The result would be strong county governments, because the county government is the executive plus the MCAs. You would have a strong, credible county government. MCAs who will not be guided by greed but by the workload ahead. MCAs who will not be manipulated by the governors and will be true watchdogs. The same of parliament, because an MCA is to a county what a parliament is to the national government. I mean, a member of parliament is to the national government. It's the same thing. After your ward, what if you ask people in the wards within your constituency determined the MP consciously, not by fluke, that you can even go to people you think can lead and urge them to run? That we are not waiting for any and every riffraff who thinks leadership is a ladder to a good life. You know? We can actually determine our National Assembly, we can determine the president. And you don't have to do that by running. It can be by supporting. It can also be by joining a political party of choice, so that you inform policy, you inform behavior. Look, we have a 2010 constitution, a very progressive one, but our politics have deteriorated to beyond times we didn't have a document like this. Our ethics have deteriorated to when ethics was not mentioned in the constitution. You know, everything is standing on its head. It's a bad situation when we start accepting something deep down in you, you know it's not right. When we start taking quality that is so poor and you are used to better quality. There is also quality in leadership. So please, just like in business, because business people do understand quality, let us go for quality leadership. And it's not just the top. Let's begin at the lowest. The county, by the way, determines the environment you live in your day-to-day life. The county has your health services. The county has your water. The county has your business licensing regime. And if the licensing officers are not good, they'll make you spend so much time, and you have already paid your money on licensing. You'll be told you have not fulfilled the health standards. And it's not about standards, it's about rent seeking. You will be told 1,000 little things. NEMA people will deny you that approval, not because you didn't fulfill. Rent seeking. We've become a nation of rent seekers. So can we go for quality? We'll be doing ourselves a favor, you know, because we deserve better than we are getting. So it's all about leadership. And I want to take you back 20 years ago, when the Kibaki government came in, the determination in the Kenyan people, that Kenyans could stop a police officer with a gun from taking a bribe or order him to return it. That Kenyans in their hundreds, I can't call them a mob because they were orderly, entered the Kenyatta International Conference Center, reclaimed the building from the then Jogoo Party. I want to recognize today they are Kanu fresh and they are different. So if there is a member in the room, feel affirmed. because you have moved away from there. But they reclaimed it from that old Kanu. They didn't damage even a window pane. They didn't harass the people they removed, but they flushed them out with their goods. And they got the minister, the then Minister of Information, under whose docket the building fell to you, to receive the building, devoid of its pretended owners. You know, that is the determination of people who are inspired. People who believe, because they believed it was the beginning of a new era, and it was. But because we are human beings and we are imperfect, we fouled that moment along the way. We started going back. The result was the 207. We come back in a coalition government and we get a constitution, which we have dishonored more than honored. The little parts we have honored have brought results. Can we then now take this opportunity? Because this, for me, is like the last opportunity. Why? If we miss it this time, we are falling down a cliff. I don't know whether we'll be out this century. So we are called upon to do it right this time. Get good leadership from your ward to your constituency, to your county, up to the presidency. You concentrate only on the presidency, there will be good policies, but your money, when it gets to the county, it will not give you that good health service. By the time we catch that governor and the rent seekers in the county, you will have suffered. So to help us accelerate this, because for us in Azimio, what are we looking for? Two things. We would want to put behind our backs this narrative of a stolen election. And how can we get to a clean election? Only with your help. If we sit down and say we are looking for good leadership, the difference in votes is going to be so great that even a naysayer will say this one is gone. That's what happened in 2002. It's not that they didn't try to rig. It's that the numbers were so overwhelming. It was a clean sweep, even amidst some irregularities. Because we always say largely free and fair. You never can get it 100%. So this time round, get it right for your ward. And I'm saying assess each individual. Yes, we have parties, but also people matter. Because leadership matters. So check each person and tick the box. And let's get it right the first time, and let's do ourselves a favor. So like 202, we will be saying it is the will of Kenyans and nobody will doubt. Okay? Even those servers will be unable because it will be too much. But we are also checking how to checkmate servers. That will come in a different session because this is too much. The second agenda, after overcoming and getting a good election, and a peaceful one, because it must be peaceful, and I'll tell you how. It is to finish the unfinished reform business. To shake ourselves, get back on course, and get on with it, and reap the benefits that we ought to reap from our 2010 Constitution, which is the covenant Kenyans gave themselves, not were given. You actually imposed it on the leadership, on the ruling elite, which the ruling elite, and I've been in and out and I'm seeking to be, have not embraced. Kenyans have to be vigilant to make sure that the ruling elite embrace the covenant they gave themselves. And that can only happen when we have engaged and active citizens. And by inviting us even to have a breakfast or to even talk, apart from affirming me as one of you, it's also deepening the engagement, because we need to know your needs and you also need to know where we are coming from. So having said it's about leadership, good leadership will sort out the governance question. Fighting corruption and good governance are joint enterprise between the leadership and the governed. And I have said we start with mandate, then we go to support for the programs. And if we compare with citizen support in 203, we will need massive support to overcome, because almost everybody is touched. And fighting corruption doesn't mean witch hunting anyone. It just means applying the law across the board. Whether it's a sister, a brother, a fellowship member, whether it's somebody you disagreed with, the whip is the same for everybody across the board. And there is a way we also can reason with one another, because there are many tools to employ. If we were able, those cases would hold us down for the next 10 years, even with the best of troops and even with the shortest time in court. So there will be many tools we can employ, tools that have been employed elsewhere, but which leave no doubt that this nation will not tolerate corrupt practices. I will not go to the nitty-gritty, but I will tell you, we are committed, and the way I know my principal, the Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga, is committed, is the fact that he chose me as his deputy. The fact that apart from choosing me as his deputy, he has also told the nation that once we get there, and God help us, and you friends help us to get there, that he has already determined that I will hold the justice and constitutional docket. A ministry that coordinates that fight. I know he's damn serious. He didn't do it in vain. And I salute him in absentia and his courage, not just to nominate a woman, but a woman with a mind. A woman known to take a stand when called upon to do so. I know he's damn serious, and I salute his courage and his confidence in himself, because he knows moving forward, he's ready, able and willing to be able to make this work. And I can assure you, I'll be a good deputy once given the opportunity. I will know my boundaries and I will obey the law, because both him and I will be under the law. Nobody is above. Yeah. So that's our duty, and that's my pledge to you without going to details of what will be done. Yeah. Then I would also want to say that I've already said it actually, that politics dictates the environment. You cannot afford to be aloof, because it's about your life. Imagine, even when we had, we were managing Corona, there were so many things, not just that curfew that will stop you from going to access services when you want. It was loss of jobs. And actually the hunger people are experiencing started then, because we have not recovered fully from loss of jobs. Everywhere I go, people hold their stomachs. They're actually saying they're hungry. And a hungry people is an angry people. Yes. We're sitting on a time bomb. Yeah. So if you love your peace, let us give peace to citizens so that they can sleep with a warm stomach just like everybody else. I have seen favor beyond my expectation. Everywhere we go, the acceptance, the jubilation that people meet us with, I can only say it's the hand of God. Amen. And I'll tell you this, I ran for president in 2013. I didn't receive such favor or see quarter of the excitement that I'm seeing. I didn't run this time. I actually was goaded, and some people have confessed, young Karua, and many others in this room. And I kept on restating that I'm standing where I can stand on my 2 feet. Because a deputy's position you have to be given. So I needed to be where I could stand on my feet, and I was avoiding that journey where you get lost in the middle. But when the universe conspires, you can't resist, You might just be swallowed like Jonah in the Bible. So I've been swallowed and this is Nineveh. And I'm ready, able and willing to serve you, and I'm hoping you will give me that position because it's your vote. Yes. And I can't, like I've kept on saying, I can't raid your pocket where your vote is. Yes. We can only persuade you. Yes. We hope to persuade a majority. Yes. I want to affirm those who may have contrary voice. It is your constitutional right to think the way you do, to hold the opinions we do. But I promise you, I'll keep engaging you. Today, tomorrow, the next day. Until at the end of the day, we have talked, and a majority, I do pray and hope, we will be on one side, and we will do ourselves a favor. And I'm not saying we are perfect. Nobody is. We have our failings as human beings. But still, if you go by track record, if you go by the measures you do, when you're measuring your own business, when you're employing your watchman, when you are employing your cook or your driver, I'm not asking you to apply any other standards. I know you choose us. I leave the decision to you. And we promise you to work with you, not just now, even afterwards, because human beings need to be reminded. We need to be told when we veer off the road. It sometimes can get irritating, but please irritate us continuously. Because keeping people on their toes includes irritating them when it is necessary. Even if I don't smile when you tell me, keep telling me. You know? It is necessary. And I know I may not answer you and tell you, yes, you've done a good thing. But I know your words will come back to me at night. And I'll wake up a better person. That's really be my keeper, I be your keeper. And that's the journey that we have. I am very gratified to see one of the KEPSA's Women in Business goals is socioeconomic transformation. My captain, otherwise known as Baba the Fifth, keeps on saying that this is the third liberation and it will be the economic liberation. So there is the socio-economic transformation. The right to life is not worth it if you have no shelter, no food, no medication, the basic needs articulated in Article 43. And that's the first thing I noticed of Asimio when I started now moving towards. Because I believe in social justice, and so the socio-economic transformation agenda is very dear to my heart. You know, Kenya is a family. It's a larger family than our own individual families. So those who are strong must pull the others up. And I heard in Carol's speech asking about bridging the gap of inequalities. It is about Article 43. It's about socio-economic justice to our people. It's about basic needs. It's about jobs and dignity. And when there's good leadership, the economy grows. We are hardworking people. The economy grows. Remember that growth that started immediately. The 2003 Kibaki government came in. The economy hasn't stopped growing. What has stopped is, in some ways, the redistribution and the services, the basic services to the people. If you relieve of people health burden, if education burden becomes lighter, and mind you, the government pays a lot in terms of education for primary and secondary, but somehow corruption enters every sector. Parents are still paying, maybe more than they paid when it was not free. So governance, it's about leadership everywhere. And we will have to police each other. We really got something we've got to do. I want to say a few things that are now disjointed as I finish. At the Iron Lady, where are the Iron Men? I just want you to know, just to re-emphasize that it's a man's world. If you exhibit strength, it is alien. Yes. It doesn't belong to women. Yes. So you have to be classified. Yes. I don't protest, but that should tell you that you are being seen as unusual. Yet, there is nobody as strong as a woman. A woman who raises a frail little thing to be a chest-thumping man or woman. We raise even the greatest of leaders. And if you want to know we are leaders, we've raised all those leaders, renowned in the world. Okay? That means we transfer leadership skills right from the cradle. A woman is a manager. Her skills, financial skills that could run at the treasury or the central bank, because they run those. Do you ever imagine how that woman in Mukuru Kwanjenga or Kibera brings up a healthy child who may be a CEO of a company? It is just amazing. I'm not even able to configure it myself. Women are managers, I just want to tell you that. And they are financial wizards. So even as we step out of our doors, affirm yourself and stand erect, because you are a leader, you are a manager. And keep telling yourself, don't hear the naysayers. Those catcalls, leave them. Don't look back lest you turn into stone, like Lot's wife. Keep moving, eyes on the ball. And that's what we really must do. That's what you captains of industry have done. That's what you women in business have done. That's you, a mother, has done. And a woman is a mother even when she is childless. You will have raised and you are still raising. So we are all mothers. And I want to salute you all, because in spite of all the hardships, we have risen to the calling. And I want us to rise to continue nurturing this nation and giving it good leadership. And I don't mind, even if we are called iron women and we haven't seen the iron men, let us know that tomorrow our daughters will not have the names, because the leadership of women will be the norm. And it is beginning to be the norm. I've never said this loudly, but it needs to be said. I give to the Uhuru government infrastructure. And I say, never mind the cost, that one we give it to them, they've done it. The other thing, we may not be 100% happy the way the gender 2/3 rule has been implemented, but you give it to him. He's given women heavy ministries. We have a woman auditor, controller general. We've had a woman in budget, and it's during his era that we have a woman chief justice. That he applauds the opportunity that we may have a woman deputy president. Also give it to him. He has proved his role, because he's already recognized by the UN as a he for she. Yes. That title is not misplaced. Yes. So if we give them nothing else, infrastructure and the gender. Yes. Because no regime has nothing to show for. Yes. I even used to tell the late Moi President Moi before he passed, because he was a good friend by that time. And I gave it to him. His legacy, I wanted only to pick two things. Expansion of education. We laughed at it and said without infrastructure. Our children cannot wait for infrastructure. They will be old men by the time you get it, and you may never get it right. So he expanded education, started private universities, which Kibaki accelerated, which are still being accelerated, and that's how come we moved from 3,000 graduates a year to almost 100,000 in a year. So if we didn't have that foresight then, we wouldn't be where we are. And then, knowing when it is boiling point, I think he had a political thermometer. When we wanted multi-party and it was getting very bad, he would reduce the pressure in the pressure cooker. And he would give way, you know? And he finally gave way in 2002. Because I'm sure he must have listened to voices telling him we can't give way. And he enables us to move to that era where presidents can retire. And it's a journey we must continue, and for which I salute Uhuru for saying categorically during the last Madaraka Day that he is retiring. It is a plus. The Constitution says it, but it's never honored. Look around us. You see? So carrying on with that tradition, now we will have the third president giving, handing over power. is entrenching democratic ideals and tradition in our country. So I want to recognize that. I just want to remind you that half the talent in this country, slightly more than half, 51%, resides in us. Because if we are 51% of the population, it means half the talent resides in, at least half the talent. It could be more because children are endowed differently. So if we don't include women in leadership, whether in companies or in politics, we lose 1/3 of our talent. And it means we are denying ourselves the tools with which to move forward. So we really must sit at the table. Whether we go there crawling, walking, or by grabbing a seat, just grab it. One day, when my book is out, you will realize how I had to grab microphones when I was a much younger person. But if it became necessary, even today I would grab one. If it became absolutely necessary, because space is never given, it is taken. And nature abhors a vacuum.